Welcome back to another episode of Chicago Brewed Sports. As always, we're joined by Brandon Nordley sitting to my left, and to my right is Joe Cladd. As for myself, my name is Andrew Nordley. We're a podcast
for the fans, by the fans.
Obviously, you see that Tony's sitting with us today. Tony did join us in the previous podcast, I think episode 3, so we're very excited to have Tony back with us.
In person.
Tony, first time in person, so Tony, very, very excited for the podcast today.
Welcome to the humble abode.
He's going to answer much-needed questions regarding the Blackhawks.
Which we've been lacking on the Blackhawks.
Which we have been lacking, so we're very excited.
We got the expert here.
Yeah, we do.
The fans are asking for it. And we got it. We're delivering.
Sure, we do have the expert here today. So, anyways, guys, and how have we all been? You guys been good?
Good. Everything's good. Work's good.
Yeah.
Life's good.
Holiday week.
Yeah. It's Gobble Day soon, so be careful out there. For sure. Blackout Wednesday for those who partake in that. Just kidding.
But work the next day.
Yeah. But regardless, why don't we just jump right into things? We have a lot to talk about tonight for you guys, so let's get to it. We're actually going to start off with Tony. Tony?
Oh, let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it, buddy. Blackhawks, let's go.
I guess there's a couple of things I need to address. Is that Patrick Kane is not a piece of shit, first of all. He's the greatest American player to ever play.
Very true. That is very true.
From New York, right?
He's from Buffalo.
Yeah. And I'm very happy you brought that up because I got to explain myself why I said that. So when me and Joe went out and bought the mics, we were sampling the mics with the audio and stuff like that, and I just said the first thing that came to my brain, and for whatever reason, that was what I said. Obviously, I don't think Patrick Kane's a piece of shit.
In typical spirit of a Chicago sports podcast, you kind of have to...
Of course.
All jokes, though.
Yeah, right, for a Chicago podcast. Might rub some people the wrong way,
it was all...
That's the point.
And it was all in good fun. It was all in good fun. Obviously, he's a legend in Chicago, one of the greatest American Hockey League player in history, so...
My second bone to pick with you is, why the Caps jersey? Explain yourself.
You know what?
You're not the only one to ask that question, Tony.
That's a very, very good question, Tony. I think at this point in the podcast, I think the cat is out of the bag, and I do have a little bit of explaining to do. 100% I support the Blackhawks. I root for the Blackhawks to win. I'm from Chicago. Why wouldn't I? But with that being said, I am a Washington Capitals fan. I am a big Ovechkin supporter. So I got to support my boys.
It's all kidding around. I have a lot
I do support my boys.
I have a lot of, B teams. I am... probably first and foremost just an NHL fan.
Yeah.
I watch any game of hockey is on any night. Tonight was a good night for me to come over because there's no hockey games on.
Yeah, correct.
So if there's some good games on, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah, and we're happy you could join us because we have a lot of questions to fire your way.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess just to start the Hawks, I think right now they're on a 4-game skid, which is not so great. Definitely
they've been scuffling.
There could be some improvement around. I'm always pretty optimistic. I think we got the Blue Jackets tomorrow, and then we got the Maple Leafs on Friday. So I think CBJ is a team that the Hawks can definitely beat. I thought that for sure they had that Nashville game in the bag, but they did not look too good. And I did want to ask you guys, which games did you guys go to?
Lightning.
Yeah.
You went to the Lightning game.
Yep. Which looked like we could have won the game, but the third period we faltered at the end.
Yeah, they've been struggling with a full 60-minute game. I think they come out hot they either come out hot in the first and they look okay in the third. But
Tony, do you think it's because of the young core, of the young age of the team, that they're not experienced to go up against a team that has been in the Stanley Cup for 3 straight seasons?
Yeah, I think any player in the NHL will know that to bring it all for 60 minutes every single night is pretty tough. It's not an easy thing to just bust your ass every single night, every single day. I mean, I can't even relate to how much those guys work, and I think like recovery's huge. I think the veterans on the team can really teach the young guys something about that, and but it's the mental game about it all. It's tough. It's hard to be in the NHL. That's why they get paid so much. So.
Yeah, and these players are playing at 100% of their capabilities while they're on the ice.
Right.
So they do get gassed pretty quickly, and they got to rotate through.
And that's why there's so many lines.
And in and out of
4 or 5 lines.
Yeah,
a lot of players.
Yeah.
Big rosters.
A lot of guys need some playing time, so that's why Bedard can't be on the ice 60 minutes, Joe. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Hey, we all want him on the ice for 60 minutes.
Of course.
So what is that about average? Would you say like 19 minutes of ice time? Or
I'd say it's probably average for a top player.
Yeah,
on
right.
any given
Top
player.
player for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in like the 20s, you're in like the mid to high 20s is like unreal.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's like these guys eat up a lot of minutes. Like Conner Murphy plays a lot of minutes on our team, and so does Seth Jones. Mm-hmm. It's usually defensemen that have longer shifts, but for
that
a forward,
explains it.
your expectation as a forward, especially guys like Conner who are scoring goals, like is basically to get on the ice, do a 45-second sprint, have your legs moving that entire time, and get off.
Right.
I mean, you can't be sprinting the whole time.
Yeah.
In a full 60
Yeah,
minutes.
I noticed that it shows the speed that they're going. Is that a new thing? That's pretty cool that it shows like their average.
You know what? I
Not
was
their
wondering
average,
how they
speed.
calculate the speed like
Speed
that.
shits
That was unreal.
Some people smarter
Skates.
than me. I know
Yeah, that was unreal.
I mean, it's that technology's gone a long way in the game. And
Yeah.
I think some people don't really even like a lot of the technology
Showing
that
the
they
speed,
have.
yeah.
I think there's a puck tracer that they use. I didn't really mind, but that helped people see the puck. And then, but yeah, they have a lot of crazy.
You want to know what I do like about what they added? And this is from a viewer's standpoint on TV, how they show the names above their head. I haven't seen that in previous years. I have started to see it this year. It just makes it easier because there's so many moving parts in hockey. You kind of get lost with the amount of players on there. So I did think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the game experience is like amazing to me. I don't know if you guys. You guys go to Hawks games fairly often. Was that like a first for some of you guys?
So I try and go to like 1 or 2 per year.
Yeah, that's
I try and go 1 or 2 per year.
one or
And
two a year.
and Brandon, and tell and share with the audience what I said before going there. We were in a rush to get there because of why?
In a rush to get there because of why?
In our seats.
Your girl.
Because of the national anthem.
Oh,
For sure. Because of the national
I
anthem.
picked up what you're putting down.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Yes,
So
absolutely.
made you sounded like it was something that you were running like
No, that
traffic
would
or
have been
something.
very disappointing to miss. Any game.
Obviously we're a Chicago sports podcast, so if I was a betting man, I'd say that majority of our viewerships are Blackhawk fans, right? And you guys know how good that national anthem is. It's almost like it gives you the goosebumps.
Yeah, so
Yeah, really
basically, I've been going to a lot of games. I'm going to 10 games this season at least. I'm probably going to more.
That's
I'm
awesome.
actually going this Friday and then the Sunday following. So 2 games in 3 days.
Nice.
I'm really excited.
You sit in Jenny's seats, right?
So yeah, and I was going to bring
Yeah.
up Jenny because every time Jenny's a girl that we work with that actually has season tickets, and I kind of chip in with and grab some tickets from her every once in a while.
Judah was there a lot when I was
Right,
there.
and there's kind of a group of us that all go.
Yeah.
And, but every time I go to the game with Jenny, she will I'm picking you up from wherever you are. We are not missing the anthem. Like,
You can't.
she will kill me if I'm had a few too many or something. I'm hungover or whatever it is. Like she will kill me if we miss.
And
that
I've
national
also
anthem.
been to my fair share of sports games, right? And I've never experienced fans actually make noise during the anthem. I'm talking like
tradition-
screaming, deafening screaming.
Yeah, it's our
clapping.
tradition, right?
Right,
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because you go to any other arena and no one's cheering during the national. It's just a thing in
it's just a
Chicago.
tradition.
So definitely,
I'm not-
definitely implore you guys to go to Blackhawks games if you haven't been to one and experience that.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody that has told me that they've never been to one, I'm like, I'm sorry. It's literally, it's one of my favorite things to do in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going to Cubs games. I mean, even Sox games. And,
Yeah.
not so much the Bears, but like,
I don't blame you there.
but the United Center is like home to me. I love that place so
Yeah.
much.
Well,
That's awesome.
at the cell, you got to start wearing flak jackets and shit.
Yeah,
to
to
the
make sure
ballpark,
cars
you know?
don't hit you and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
thanks, Andrew. Kick us while we're down. Kick us while we're down. We appreciate
Hey, I
it.
think we're all down a little bit, right?
Every single team is
Cubs
down.
are on top, baby.
They really are if you think about
Hey,
it.
good guys up.
But I wanted to circle back real quick to what we were talking about. I looked up a statistics. I thought to Joe's point and everything, be an interesting thing to share. So in terms of shift time, and this to me seems like outer worldly. This was a guy named Jack Hughes. He plays for the New Jersey Devils. This actually happened in 2022, not long ago at all. The longest shift in NHL history was in the year 2022 by Jack Hughes for a whopping 6 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yeah, I remember this.
Oh.
You remember that? That's
I do remember
crazy.
that. There's obviously stoppage time like in between, but for you
Right.
to just be standing and be out there and be moving around, and for 6 minutes is out of this world. It's insane. I mean, you think about like Connor. I know you were saying just in terms of Conner Bedard and how he's getting played. I think if there's a line of like penalty kills that we if the penalties that the Hawks have to kill, then Conner Bedard won't be out there. He's not a penalty kill guy, right? We're gonna put our best defensemen out, our best defensive players out there.
Yeah.
Because Connor's, I mean, he's a tiny dude. He's not gonna really be banging around.
Yep.
He's not meant to play defense. So if we're killing penalties, he's gonna be on the bench.
Right.
And then if we get a power play, even if he's tired, he's gonna jump out there. So it sometimes evens out. But if typically if you have been like, hey, where the heck's Bedard, that kid everyone's talking about, it's probably because we've had to kill a couple penalties or we've been in some sort of funk where the coach is deciding that we got to play more defense or whatever it is.
I noticed it was in the third period, and I noticed like, man, the ball when they were playing the Lightning, the ball the puck was like always in the Hawks by the Hawks goal, and like I was like, man, do the Hawks like they don't play very good defense, huh? Or would you say that?
Well, I will say
they just have a really good offense. The Lightning.
I'm actually a big fan of the Lightning as well. I was a Marty St. Louis guy growing up. I love Steven Stamkos. I mean, I have loyalty to the Hawks for sure, but the Lightning are actually one of my favorite teams as well. And I went into that game knowing that the Hawks were probably going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
If I was a betting man, I probably wouldn't be putting my money on the Hawks for that one. But yeah, the Lightning got a great team, and possession's a huge part of the game because obviously if you got the puck on your stick, they can't score. So especially if you have a lead, the Lightning might just be trying to throw it around in their zone, not even trying to score, just trying to burn clock. So I mean that's just kind of how the game gets played.
Yeah.
Yep. Very true.
I know Andrew's favorite guy, Wayne Gretzky, missed 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
So.
I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I do respect him.
Yeah, he's the best.
I do respect him.
He's the great one.
And totally different era, but I would still respect him.
He's not the grade 8, but he's the great.
He's definitely not the grade 8. I will argue with anyone over this that Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer of all time. Gretzky's the greatest player of all time.
I can get behind that.
Thank you.
I really can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly.
And that's coming from the pro right here.
Yeah, Ovechkin's amazing. He scores the same goal every single game. He's only, I think, like 50 goals away from Gretzky's record anyway.
And he has 3 years left on his contract.
Like, what the heck is...
So as long as he stays healthy and the Caps stay relevant, which they really turned their season around. They started off terrible, now they're doing good. So, I mean, I think overall, not just because I'm a fan of Ovechkin, I think it'd be good for the sport to see one of those old records be shattered.
Yeah, it would be insane.
It would be insane.
I think that will actually attribute to how much hockey's grown and how much of a golden era it is for a hockey fan today.
Yeah.
And I think it's super cool that now people are going to start watching if they know that these records that have been around for 50 years are going to be broken.
I agree.
So that's huge for me. I think hockey's sometimes a backseat to some other major sports in America. So I'm always down for anything to grow the game, whatever it is. So I'm happy to, especially.
It's interesting you guys bring that up. I feel like when you look at a sport like baseball and hockey, and then you look at the NFL is completely different, right? How many record-shattering career numbers are you seeing every year consistently with the NFL? You're seeing season records being broken in the NFL. You're seeing that in the NBA as well. Yeah. We just saw LeBron just pass it up recently. So, there's kind of a divide in some of these major sports in terms of, these lifelong stats that are being held. So, interesting stuff.
And in baseball, Ronald Acuna Jr., didn't he just break a record?
He did. He
That's
went
true. 30-70? 30-70?
He did. But in all fairness, you kind of got to consider how much the baseball game has changed, right? A lot of these sports, football, NHL, NBA, they're not really changing all that much, whereas baseball is changing a lot. So we are going to see that a little bit more in baseball, and I think that's kind of their goal. I think that's what baseball wants to happen. Yeah. So it's working already.
It's for obvious reasons, but we'll get to that some other day. But Tony, I do want to jump into a question for you that I think is pretty important. Let me just pull up some of the players that I have. So, which players from the past 2 draft classes have the highest chance of becoming role players alongside Conner Bedard? I wrote down a few guys like Kevin Korchinski, Frank Nazar, Sam Rinzo, all first-round picks, really. And Oliver Moore, Adam Gagin. I may have said some of these words wrong or names wrong, but Colton Dock, the center. Do you think these guys can contribute one day and help Conner Bedard become, a good hockey team?
I think the Hawks have done a decent job of having their picks. I mean, it's pretty unreal for a guy like Connor to actually come around because, all I'm trying to get across is don't get used to, us picking a first-round guy and then him having playing and scoring a point per game because that's, that's kind of out of this world. It's not a thing that you come by all the time.
Yep.
So these guys, a lot of guys you mentioned haven't even worn a Hawks sweater yet. A couple of them are in the farm system. I think there's a couple that have played on the Ice Hogs in their AHL team. Mm-hmm. But some names that did stick out to me was Korchinski. He is currently playing on the Hawks. He is an active roster spot. He's a young defenseman. He's been really great. I think people have liked him so far. Frank Nazar is another guy that I've definitely heard of. I think he played NCAA, had a really successful college career.
Yeah.
So people are excited to kind of see him grow a little more. And actually, to my knowledge, I think Frank Nazar has been hurt for the past year. He had surgery. So we'll see that guy hopefully come back and contribute.
Sure.
Colton Dock is a fun kind of name for the Blackhawks because he's the brother of Kirby Dock, who was on the Hawks a few years ago, and I think he was a fan favorite. Young forward, tall, very creative, great with the puck, and now we have his brother, who's pretty much the same player. Just needs to grow a little bit. He's just a bit younger and just needs to grow. So.
And these kids will obviously grow over time when they play together. And
absolutely,
together,
and even Connor will, right? It's these. We got to remember these are kids, right? These are teenagers,
18 years old.
So it's kind of strange to be them and have so much to be expected of them, but we definitely have to keep reminding ourselves these are kids. We're going to grow a bit more. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm very optimistic for what we've picked so far. I think we got a couple.
What do you think of
the
goalie? Was it Peter Mrazek?
So Peter Mrazek is he's a veteran.
Okay.
That's a guy we can look to right now to kind of just be our solid base, right?
Okay.
He's he's been around the league a long time. He needs to keep this team afloat a little bit, and I think he's delivered a good amount. I think his numbers are doing pretty well. I think the pressure's a lot more on our other guy, Soderblom. He's kind of been working with Peter, and they've been kind of switching off games,
transition
in tandem, and I think that the eyes are kind of on him to be kind of our next great goalie,
right?
Yeah.
And
he's the future, right?
Right, supposed to be. He's the younger guy, and so the pressure's on him. And I honestly think for both goalies on our bench right now and in the net, I think they're both all doing pretty well. They're keeping up with, I think, average or slightly above average numbers.
Yep. And
they could at least win us a few games this season for sure. I said I think the Hawks will be above 500. Right now it's not so much looking great, but
yeah,
I think that it can happen. So
definitely is a long season and they have time.
Yeah, definitely
to turn it around. It's still early, but yeah, the Hawks have 3 goalies as of right now. We'll see what Adam Gagin or Gahan, whatever his name is, excuse me, it does. Mm-hmm. See how they all develop.
Yeah, I think Soderblom can learn a lot from Mrazek.
Yeah, and he will.
I think he absolutely will.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's the point of it. That's the whole point of that signing and whatnot. Good question, Andrew. So I wanted to transition a little bit. I also have a question for you, Tony. And I can speak on this. Andrew, Joe, I know you guys were at the game against Tampa. I'm kind of talking about that game exclusively. However, I've seen a big sample size within the other games. And there's no secret at this point that, as what Joe alluded to earlier, this team has not played that well in our defensive zone. In hockey, for those of you who aren't as much aware, in hockey, just like basketball, for example, every single position plays a key role on defense. Even the forwards, the centers, it takes a group of 5 to play defense well in the defensive zone. That being said, how much responsibility would you specifically put on our defensemen for our inability to get the ball out of the puck out of our defensive zone? And then I kind of have a secondary part to that question as well. Tony, in terms of our defensemen, I know you kind of alluded to Korchinski potentially being one of those guys as an option for our future. Which defensemen, if any, do we have that you can see as a long-term building block? And then who on our defensive side do you see as maybe not being a big part of our future?
The Korchinski, I mean, we've said him a few times. Everyone is looking to him to be a very big part of the Blackhawks' future from these years to come. I really like his style of play. Another young guy that we can mention is Alex Vlasic, who I think he has a bit of favoritism from Chicago fans because he is from Chicago, at least the suburbs.
That does help.
Yeah. And he's also been a guy known to be pretty creative with the puck. I mean, he is trying to just be that solid guy back there, and I think he's doing a pretty good job of it. As far as our top guys, Seth Jones and Connor Murphy are kind of like our two, been around the league for a while, know what they're doing, and the guys that kind of eat up the most minutes on the Hawks.
Yeah.
Seth Jones, for one, he played for a couple different teams, and I remember him just being lights out, amazing. He was not so much a defensive stay-at-home guy, but he was more of a puck mover, really getting the puck up the ice, clearing the zone, and then also the ability to score, that kind of stuff. So he was this all-around great guy when we signed him, and that's why he's actually has the highest contract on our team right now, which is, and some people say it's controversial, but maybe that's a conversation for a different day. I'm a Seth Jones fan. I think that he is extremely athletic. I think he can move the puck really well. Lately, I think he's been struggling. I don't really see him to be himself right now.
Yeah.
I can go all day and just say he sucks, but I mean, I'm a Hawks fan, so I'm going to say he's struggling a little bit. I think he maybe just needs. It's almost like more of a mental game for him. Like I said, he's extremely athletic guy. He can move the puck. The things he does with the puck is actually insane. And then there's Connor Murphy, who specializes at stay at home, and honestly, he's been kind of like our rock solid base for defenseman. He is in probably the top 5 of block shots in the entire league.
Wow.
He's been getting a point every once in a while, but he's not a point getter. He's not a goal scorer. He's not a disher. This guy has been hitting and blocking, and that's just all this guy does, and he's incredible at it. He is so good.
And that's just the nature of the position, too.
Right.
In some ways.
Right, and I mean, that's again, talking about strategy and how the game is played, we're not putting Murphy out on power plays, because he's not really going to be scoring goals. It's not his job. On the penalty kill, absolutely. Put Connor up there because he's going to block every single shot. If the puck doesn't get to the net, you're not scoring. So, and he's incredible at it. So that's why I mean.
Seems like they've been kind of trying to rough up Conner Bedard a little bit.
They had a nasty hit on him the other day.
A little bit.
They're trying to hurt the guy.
Well, Tony, I'll say this. I've been known for my hot takes on this podcast, and I want to hear a hot take from you. There's no surprise here, right? The Blackhawks are not a great team right now. There's a reason for that, right? There's got to be a couple guys on our team for that, responsible for that. Mm-hmm. In terms of defensemen, give me one guy who sucks.
Okay, that sucks.
I think sucks is a very harsh word.
You think so?
Sucks may be just a tad harsh.
That's not.
Who is underperforming?
So I said Seth Jones, and I'm
Seth Jones.
That's gonna be the kind of the first one because in my head. I'm trying to be positive here.
I get it,
but there has been probably a moment of emotion watching a hockey game this season, going, man, Seth Jones fucking sucks. He has had some really dumb moves every once in a while.
Well, it's because you have high expectations for him, too.
And that's part of it, too, is that there's obviously guys that, are getting scratched and don't play every game, and they suck, but it's they're getting scratched every game, Yeah. I think Seth Jones has this crazy, he has a high expectation. He's getting paid almost more than any defenseman in the league. So,
wow.
He's supposed to be quarterback of our team, basically.
I think what you're trying to say is relative to his pay, he should be performing better.
Yeah.
For sure. At least relative to his pay.
And I feel, even coming here, I knew we were going to talk about this, and I'd be like, this is going to be a tough one for me. because I don't want to say anything, like, too much anything bad for him. I think he's good, but he does have to get better. I will say that 1,000%. Something's got to change.
So I do have a question for you, Tony. Do you think the offense needs to do a better job of applying more pressure in the zone to help alleviate, the wrongdoings of the defense?
Right.
Because obviously a good offense is a good defense, and vice versa.
Yeah,
because we were at the Tampa Bay game, and when I tell you, we saw it first and foremost. Tampa Bay controlled that entire game.
Yeah, and
they were constantly on the attack.
Just to kind of sum that up too, before you go, Tony, like, can you how am I trying to say this? Like, our offensive struggles, would you say that's a big component to why our defense has been struggling? Do you kind of feel like it stems from there?
It's kind of
hard. I think that's where you're getting at, right?
Yes, 100%. And I think yes, it's almost like in that slinky effect. It's
right.
You need a good offense for a good defense, and vice versa.
And you see that in football. And we'll get into that, but you see.
That's a part of every single sport, right? Really.
You have a team, in football, right?
Yeah.
You have a team, an offense that can't stay on the field. Even if you have a good defense, they're going to get burnt out.
Absolutely.
They're going, by the third quarter, they're gassed. They're not good for the rest of the game. They look like they suck, but in reality, it's the offense that's not picking them up. So
I can speak on at least also like playing hockey growing up. I think all players are taught from a young age that when it comes to hockey, defense first. I mean, you guys see the Mighty Ducks, right? It's all good defense first.
Sure.
And
defense wins championships.
Defense wins in hockey. That's 100%.
Maybe not football.
I remember maybe not. The last time we talked, I remember us talking about. You were saying like what's going to get us to the promised land. I remember telling you guys, goaltending's huge. Which goaltending's a part of defense, right? I mean, the last line of defense. So. Like, having a good goaltender, having a good defenseman is, like, the key to pretty much any, like, very, very successful team.
Joe.
Yeah, bring it on.
Thank you, buddy. Sorry, bro.
No, you're good. But I think, obviously our defense can get a little better. I think, but as far as the offense goes, you don't want to have to score 8-9 goals a game to win games.
Sure.
There obviously needs to be, I always say it's hard to score a goal, or it's hard to win a game only scoring like 1 or 2 goals. Yeah. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Because that means you have to let up.
Tony,
not as much.
Another good question. I'm firing on all cylinders right now.
Let's hear it,
man. What does the Blackhawks cap space look like, and will the Blackhawks in free agency go out there and make a big splash? Because obviously, everyone knows if you have a young team, you got to surround them with good veteran leadership. You saw that from the Cubs, especially in 2015 and 2016 with Lackey, Zobrist, Lester, and all those guys. So, are there any big primetime free agents coming to Chicago in the near future, do you think?
Probably not this year, I could say. I think that the focus of the office in Chicago right now
is more so like
this is a rebuild, and we're off to a pretty good start because usually the first years of a rebuild are painful.
But
it helps once you get the number one.
What if there's a possibility that the Hawks exceed expectations? Do you think that kind of forces the Blackhawks management's hand to go out there and maybe get a good guy?
It would be a decision they have to make closer to the trade deadline.
I
think there's nothing that I could really say right now as far as this season goes.
Yeah.
But next season, I think that'd be more of a conversation next season.
Fair enough.
But not so much right now.
Sorry, Joe. I got one more thing on this, and then please. I think, Tony, my question is like kind of in the realm of what Andrew was asking. I mean, it's one of those things where with our front office, right? Maybe they won't sign someone. Maybe they have a whole system and plan. They're trusting their process. I guess my question is, in your expert opinion, how competent is our front office?
Oh, I'm enjoying a lot of things that Kyle's doing.
Okay.
Our GM, I mean, we've had a basically fire sale of our entire front office over the past few years.
Good.
And have a whole new staff up there and a whole new coaching staff, and I think it's been working out pretty nicely. We got this this GM that's pretty young, and I think he's just been making all the right moves lately.
Good.
I think, like we said before, it helps to get a guy like Bedard.
Yeah.
I like
That wasn't a tough choice.
he makes your job pretty easy.
Exactly.
But so is he the greatest GM of all time? There's no way to tell. But I mean, we're already off to a pretty good start with him. I'm enjoying some of the moves that he's making.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I was just gonna say. So right now their cap hit, the Hawks, is $51.9 million, and they still have a ceiling of $31.6 million to spend. So decent amount of money.
I think,
sounds like.
I
You have some money
know.
to spend.
I didn't know what the room was,
Yeah.
so that's actually awesome.
Actually, I'm gonna piggyback off of Joe real quick and ask you a question here. Would you have liked to see Patrick Kane return to Chicago to maybe help develop Conner Bedard? I think ultimately that would have been a good move. I think a lot of fans would have liked to see a friendly face back in
The guy
in
who's
the
saying
center.
fuck Patrick Kane wants him back now.
I'm not explaining myself further. We're having fun.
Well, Patrick Kane was started the same.
No,
age
but
too,
seriously,
so-
a guy like Patrick Kane, and being the best American hockey player in the sport, he definitely could have helped develop Conner Bedard further. Would that have been a sane move to make? Would that have been a good move to make for the Hawks, or just flat out no?
Yeah, I think
question.
some Hawks fans, because of just pure emotion of loving the guy,
right.
Like a
really
senior.
wanted him back.
Yeah.
And it's very clear. I talked to a lot of fans where everyone's like, Kane's going back, and my first thought was probably not. I mean, I think Kane himself. It's hard to even look from like a team's perspective. You got to look kind of from Patrick's perspective, right?
Of course, he's a competitor. He wants to win.
This guy is getting off surgery of his hip. He probably wants to go on a team that is very competitive because the guys know that his clock's ticking. He's an older guy now.
Right.
He could still be effective on the ice. He could still contribute to a winning team, and the guy just wants to win. He's a winner. He wants to win a Stanley
You can never
Cup.
blame a player for wanting to win.
Right. So I think, I wouldn't blame him. I think some Hawks fans, again, that might rub them the wrong way because it's off emotion, right? But if you put logic into it, you got to think this guy just wants to win another Stanley Cup, and he'll do whatever he needs to do to get it.
And he went back to his hometown.
Right. Well, I think he's not officially signed, from what I understand.
I thought they were in
I
an
think they were
agreement.
Rangers,
Maybe not
right?
officially signed, but they're in.
I don't
an
think it's
agreement.
official yet.
It was the
Yeah,
Rangers,
okay.
right?
No,
It was
the
Buffalo.
Buffalo,
So the
okay.
teams that I have heard was Buffalo. I've heard Toronto, which I don't really think is going to happen.
Yeah, well, we all know he's not winning a chip in Toronto.
Team,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
I think it's been 30 years since
it's been a long
Canada, whatever,
Canadian team.
whatever team won,
It's a wild stat.
won the Stanley Cup, and I'm all for it. Let's keep the freaking cup in America, baby.
USA.
USA.
I mean, yeah. But
Yeah.
Kaner's just got. I mean, I think he still has a decision to make. He's been talking to so many teams. A lot of rumors been going out there. I know you just sent me that. Joe just sent me the picture of him, kind of maybe getting signed to Buffalo, which Buffalo would be a pretty good spot for him. Especially, I mean, Buffalo's kind of struggling right now. To be honest,
Yeah.
they don't have really good goaltending. Right
So he probably won't win up there.
I mean, he could. It's just
You can make a big difference.
I think about hockey, and I'll talk about this a little bit, is that there's so much what's the word they use it? So much parity in hockey. It's so likely in NBA for the same team to win because they have the best players, and that's just how basketball is. But for hockey, there is this months-long playoff where
A grueling
where
playoff.
the first seeded team, the last seeded team have the same chance of winning, and you just have to win 4 times in a row.
Well,
4 times more than the other team to advance to the next round, and anybody can win. There's been the last seeded teams that win. LA Kings is, I think, the most recent.
they
team
won
to
in
have won.
12 and 14, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
then we also saw the Boston Bruins break the single season point record last year, get bumped in the first round.
right.
So
Again, big Tampa fan. They won the President's Trophy a while back. They played Columbus in the first round of the playoffs. Expected to win, and they got swept. the Lightning got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep, you don't see that in the NBA.
Yeah.
You don't see that in the NFL. That's for damn sure.
You don't see it in the NBA unless it's the Miami Heat. Unless it's the Miami Heat.
That's true.
For whatever reason, you
went
always
off
see
last
the
year.
Miami Heat go. This is their second time that they've done that.
Yeah.
They've been like the last
Yeah.
team they made it to the finals, and of course they lose. But I mean,
Yeah. For sure.
but yeah, interesting
Alright.
stuff.
Moving on, or
But yeah, if that's all we have for the Chicago Blackhawks, we're going to move on to football. But before we move on to football, I think someone has to take a shot of Malort.
oh man, I was waiting for that.
Someone has to
Alright.
take a shot of Malort. But before that, thank you, Tony, for that great segment.
Thank you
for having
Absolutely
me, Tony.
appreciate it,
Appreciate
Tony.
you guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that was a great segment. And Joe,
Do the honors, man.
you're up.
Or for me.
on the loser board,
Tony,
buddy.
will you be
will you
joining
be
Joe?
joining us?
Do
Oh,
we have a second
joining
shot
Joe?
glass? I don't even know if we have a
You
second
don't
shot
have to,
glass
to be
down
honest.
here.
I almost want to like make a prediction and see if it makes the next if there's next if you guys got forbid, or I'll do one on my own. But whatever.
You were talking that big game before the cameras were rolling, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, dude.
I'll do one. I'll do one if you got it. Yeah. whatever you
Oh
guys got.
shit!
No peer pressure. If you want to do it, do it.
I'll
if,
do-
If
well-
you do, Brandon, could you go get him a shot
Are we
glass?
gonna cheers to Justin Fields or something, or what's going on? Like, is this not it's a sore subject? Like, what? Are we doing?
So,
Cheers to the number one pick in the draft.
This bottle is damn near done.
so unfortunately, I lost the score prediction. So I have to do a shot of Malort. So,
Remind me what it was.
my score prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a sec. It
I
was
said 38 to 17.
20 to 10, I think. But hang on, I
No,
said
you said 20 to 13.
20 to 13. Yeah.
I said 38 to 17. Brandon said like 30
I
to
said
14 or something like that.
So then you just like base off who's the most wrong,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So hang on, I'll tell you right here. Okay, so I was 20 to 13. So my total, like you add up the however far points away
Yeah,
you
like a
were.
differential.
So I was 24 total. So whoever has the most loses. You want the lowest amount of points. Andrew was 16 and Brandon was 17.
We should start making this mandatory. We have a guest on. That's the price you gotta pay.
the price you gotta
it's
pay.
hard. My philosophy
Poor
on
mama.
the Lord is that it is tough to take it by yourself. I understand that's the punishment. I'm a big fan of solidarity, though. Like,
Thank you.
if I'm doing a
appreciate
shot of
you,
Malort,
Tony.
someone else is doing a shot of Malort.
I appreciate
that
you,
is the
man.
rule.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, this shit is just not
Thanks
good.
for
man.
suffering.
It's
with me.
terrible.
It's just not good.
No, I like it though. To be honest,
I mean-
I like Malort. Andrew like
It's just
hates
disgusting.
it.
And it's just like it just stays in your mouth.
Yeah, it's a 0.
It doesn't go away. Like you could take the shot and then proceed to chug an entire beer and you'll still have the Malort taste in your mouth. I'm sure you guys have had Malort before.
Joe, it's a big
All
shot.
right, here's the Justin Fields playing well and not losing the game.
All right.
Cheers,
So
Joe.
Justin.
boys.
To Justin.
Salute.
Cheers.
Oh yeah.
Never gets easier.
Never.
Never. Not once.
Never.
All right.
In fact, it always gets worse.
All right. Alrighty.
so
Good shit.
you know, I wanted to say before. I mean, not before, but right now, dude. I really don't think that there is enough water in Lake Michigan to put out the dumpster fire for Chicago sports. I think if you dumped it over the entire city, it would still not do a thing. But anyways, so the Bears lost 31 to 26. Lions now are still the NFC North. They're number one. The Bears are last in the NFC. Lions are first at 8-2. Bears are 3-8. So I thought this was interesting. We haven't won back-to-back games since 2021, since Matt Nagy was the head coach. Possession time for the Lions game. The Bears had the ball for about 40 minutes, and the Lions had the ball for about 15 minutes, if you can believe that.
Unreal.
Or possession time.
And we lost the game.
That is disgusting.
We're talking about breaking records.
Yes.
Before. I feel like that's gotta be so.
The Bears gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter. The Lions had 4 turnovers, and Bears still found a way to lose. So I thought this was another interesting thing. The Bears did break a record, by the way. So this is the first time
It
in
definitely wasn't a good record.
No, it was not a good
Yeah, it was
record.
not a good record.
This is the first time in NFL history where a team has lost with more possession time and a 4-to-1 turnover ratio against an
Wow.
opponent. First time in NFL history that this has ever
happened. And the Bears, so I always say
it just keeps getting worse.
No, it does. I continue to how worse this dumpster fire continues with the Bears. But I always say that, and I think pretty much a lot of people say this too, bad teams find a way to lose, and good teams find a way to win. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened with this game.
It's a very true statement.
So in the fourth quarter, once we punted it back to the Lions, when we couldn't get a first down, the score was 26-21 at the time. I think less than 3 minutes left. Dude, I just knew we were gonna lose. I was like, man, we are gonna lose this game. Like,
so
how come not
the whole game,
a first down?
So surely you can't blame Fields and the players for this loss.
Dude, I
think it's safe to say we blame Getsky and Matty Rufus.
Yeah, dude. I think that Justin Fields actually played very well.
And quite frankly, I'm surprised they have not been let go since we lost that game.
Yeah.
I think that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, obviously.
I agree. I think, Joe, you're bringing up a lot of good points. I think I'll be Mr. Optimism when it comes to the Bears today. Mr. Pessimism with the Blackhawks jersey on when we were talking about the Blackhawks. But with the Bears, I think I saw a lot of really good things from Justin Fields. I still think that the things that have been plaguing him throughout his entire career, I still saw them come to the surface on Sunday. Right, like just overthrowing guys that were open. DJ Moore in the end zone, just an overthrow. Throws that other guys are just gonna make. It's simple, right? DJ Moore was open, so Fields has some stuff to work on. We still know that, but he looked good overall. However, I will say also that I saw a lot of things this week in general in the NFL world that I really, really liked. For example, the New York Giants winning their game. That was huge. I just talked about it last week on the podcast about how there was a report that came out saying that the New York Giants were destined for the number 1 pick with Danny Dimes going down. But Tommy DeVito actually looked great.
I was going to say that guy threw 3 touchdown passes.
Big shout out to Tommy DeVito.
You had him on your fantasy team.
yeah, big shout out to him, for taking down Heineke and the damn Washington Commanders. That was fantastic. That's Heineke, right?
Yeah, Taylor Heineke.
Okay.
Yeah, for the. Oh no, he
no. What
anymore.
the fuck's his
he
name?
Used to.
No, I know what's his
Sam
name now. Howell. Yeah. I knew it was an H. See, I knew that. Yeah. Thank you, Joe, for picking me up there. But yes, the Giants won. Unfortunately, we saw Arizona lose. Right, C.J. Stroud happened. Kid's playing out of his mind.
Another guy we could have had.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple other games that went in our favor. I know Green Bay ended up beating Los Angeles, so
Chargers.
that was great. Right, we don't root for the Packers here, but when you're in the position of the Chicago Bears,
you have to be realistic.
You have to be realistic. Everything this season really does kind of have to boil down to draft pick and draft capital next year, and that's kind of the way I look at things. So although we lost in an embarrassing fashion, I think a lot of good things happened in the NFL for the Bears this week.
Yeah, no, I agree. So another thing too, which I think this is just absolutely disgusting. Bears were up 26-14 with 4.5 minutes left, and we still lost. So that means that the Lions had to score, get a stop, and then score again, which they did. They let the Lions get 75 yards in 1 minute and 16 seconds. That is absolutely putrid. With less than 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, this is that play that we're talking about, where all they had to do was get a first down, and then the Lions would have used their last timeout and would have been out of timeouts. So with less than 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, had the ball and just needed to get the first down. But we ran the ball against the second best running defense, run-stop defense in the NFL, to go 3 and out. So the first play, it was 1st and 10, handoff with no gain. 2nd and 10, another handoff with 1 yard gain. The third and 9, so this is where we threw that deep ball to wide receiver Tyler Scott. So Luke Getsy called this play. he's hoping Justin Fields gets him out of a sticky situation. And, of course, Tyler Scott, he's a rookie wide receiver. I'm not going to beat this guy up too much. I mean, he did pause while I don't know if you guys were watching. He did kind of pause a little bit to kind of check where the ball was. He saw where the ball was coming. If he would have just continued to run the route, Justin Fields placed that ball perfectly. And he missed it by maybe a foot, like a footstep, and it was thrown right to his hands. I thought Justin Fields threw a lot of great balls.
He played very well.
Played very well.
well.
So we'll get to Justin Fields later. I have all his ratings and stuff.
Yeah,
and
Joe, there were a couple more things I know. Like, I know I texted you guys during the game. I couldn't believe it. It was in our own red zone, in our own end zone, right? The
Sure.
Detroit was on the brink of scoring, and easiest pick six I've ever seen in my life. Jalen Johnson.
Right, he wants the big money, man.
Right in his paws.
Yeah, he wants that big money.
Right in his paws, and he drops the ball.
Can't make big time plays.
Now, in his defense, right, cornerbacks, defensive players, there's a reason why they're on the defense. They can't catch a ball. You can't expect them to catch everything, and I get that. But like you said earlier, Joe, bad teams find a way to lose. Good teams make Good teams will make that interception.
Yeah.
And ultimately result in us winning. So got to be better than that.
The whole time that where we needed to get, we needed to run the clock down, and we would have won this game. Like I said, we were up in the fourth quarter. It was 26-14, and that drive that we made that we just talked about, going 3 and out.
Yeah.
We only ran 15 seconds off the clock. That's all we did. Tell me that is not just disgusting.
Those are the fundamentals, man. If you can't start with the fundamentals, how do you expect to win a game?
They kicked to the Lions with over 2.5 minutes left, and the Lions won. And like I said, at that time the score was 26-14, and they still won. Who would have thought that they would have won?
When we punted the ball on fourth down, what was the yardage on that? Do you know?
When we punted the
was it like a fourth and short? Like, is it one of those situations where
we were? It was. It would have been 4th and 9.
4th and 9.
Yeah. So, because we tried to throw that ball to Tyler Scott.
Yeah. That was probably a smart punt then. If it was 4th and 9,
we had to punt. I mean, it's
better play calling. Don't be in a 4th and 9 situation.
But when you're second and long, I understand the 3rd and long why we passed, but the second, why aren't we throwing the ball? We're evaluating Justin Fields here. We need to see if he can, which I thought he did a good job.
It was nice seeing her.
I feel bad beating him up for Tyson Bagent. But Justin Fields played good. He really did. So Matt Eberflus right now, he is 0-16 against teams with a record of 500 or teams that are over 500 or more. So winning teams he cannot beat. He's 0-16 against winning teams.
I think it's safe to say his tenure in Chicago is coming to an end.
So wait, it gets better. It gets
For
better.
Matt Eberflus.
He has yet to win an NFC North game. He is 0-9 against all the NFC North teams. Has not won 2 games in a row. He's 6-22, his record with the Bears, and those 6 teams he beat were really bad teams.
Well, he did beat the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, but that was a tsunami rainstorm. so that was a weird fluke thing.
And
it was the first game last year of the season, and
Great.
And
Great.
tsunami.
The Bears are.
He had fun with that game.
we had fun with that game, and it led to a really cool photo at the end when they're all.
It was a cool
best
photo.
photo.
Yeah,
But I don't
the
care
best
about
photo.
photos. I care
The
about
fact that we're still talking
winning.
about that, though,
Yeah.
proves that how much little success we've had, that we still hang on to that. It's true.
So we
But it was a cool photo.
It was.
It was
cold. It was cold.
It was someone's phone background for
Yeah,
some
yeah,
amount of time,
Dude,
bro.
one of my playlists. I'm not gonna lie. One of my.
I'm sure it was
I
hanging
can
up.
show you right now, dude.
I'm sure it was hanging up in
I
Dallas.
swear to
Wait,
God.
that was your photo?
No, look, I'm gonna show you.
Justin Fields gliding across.
Yep, it was that
great,
game,
though.
dude.
Well, it was
Hey.
just nice to see the players having fun for once.
It wasn't him gliding across, but it was that game, and you could tell by the rain. But it's one of my fucking playlist backgrounds. Same game. That's how cold that game was.
And that's also a cold photo.
It is. He's not on the ground, but it's still cold.
I
With
honestly
the rain.
thought, I was like, yeah, this is it. Justin Fields.
Well, that was
our
like
guy.
that was the big like Justin Fields is him.
Yeah.
Situation.
He beat the 49ers,
Right.
but it was a tsunami, so that's probably why.
And it really was. I mean, I vividly remember watching that game. There was like massive puddles on the field.
That was a fun game.
That was really fun.
I mean, those guys probably felt like they were in grade school again playing fucking football.
Yeah.
You know, back in the
So Matt Eberflus has also suffered a 14-game losing streak before he won his first game.
back to depression.
So what a calendar year without winning a game. That's just disgusting, man.
Awful.
So yeah, Matt Eberflus should be fired. Is basically what I'm getting at with that. Moving on to Justin Fields. Like I said before, I think he had a solid game. So 16 to 23 for receptions, 169 passing yards. I mean, like on paper, it doesn't look that flashy, some of his numbers, but he had if you actually watched it, he played really good. He was the engine to this team, I thought. 1 touchdown pass, 0 interception, 104 rushing yards, was actually pretty solid for a running back, a quarterback. 2 sacks, which you don't want to see. Then that one strip sack that was that Darnell Wright kicked into the end zone for a safety. So it was.
I mean,
That was our number one draft pick.
Yeah.
That was our number one draft pick.
That wasn't his fault though.
Hodgkinson or whatever. Or no, not what's his.
He did get pushed into the ball.
Yeah, I mean that one.
And I mean he's a big boy. If that guy goes crashing to the floor, there might be a fucking earthquake.
That game was over. Let's just be. There was like 18 seconds left. They weren't.
That's what you want out of your lineman, though.
Yeah,
kick it, big boy,
in the end zone for a safety.
Big
That's exactly what
athletic
you
boy.
want for a lineman.
Correct.
Strong athletic boy.
But Justin Fields' QBR, man, it went way up. 105.2 for this game. 69.6 completion percentage. Current QBR for all seasons is 82.9, and then this season is 93.3, which isn't too bad. I think that Justin Fields was clearly the better quarterback than Jared Goff.
So, and I have a question.
Goff struggled on Sunday.
I have a question for anyone who wants to answer this.
Sure.
Is Justin Fields' stock as high as it's going to get right now?
I think
currently,
so.
Absolutely not.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's hard to at the end of the. I mean,
Where's
maybe
that optimism? Like he, he's got to come back around. Like it's not. Is a guy who's one of the things I was saying before. Like with such, I can relate to talking about Justin Fields being incredibly athletic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy can run the ball like crazy, but don't you think that he's maybe going to get better at throwing as time goes on? Like
that's what we hope so,
For
man.
sure.
I mean, that's why we got DJ Moore. And I really hope we get Marvin Harrison Jr. Too. Can you imagine those two on the team?
Yeah. And Tony, and just to go off what you said, that's why I think it's important that the Bears continue to build off of Justin Fields and keep adding to the offense, like drafting another center, drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. I think,
Dude, I really
will
don't want
play
to draft
dividends
another.
in Justin Fields' development as well as the team's development.
I think we should keep Justin Fields and Tyson Bagent going into next year. Build up the trenches,
I think I agree with you.
I like
I think
Yeah,
I agree
no,
with you.
I'm 100% on board. I don't think we have a backup option. I think Justin Fields is 100% our guy. I have no doubts about that. But
And if he's not, throw Tyson Bagent in there.
But if I'm answering your question, Andrew, I don't really think Justin Fields' stock is at its highest. He just came off an injury. He had a really lackluster beginning of the year. He played well. Played well on Sunday, but we lost.
He did play pretty damn well against a very good team, which is always good to see.
I just think if we are ultimately gonna trade Fields, I think his Fields' stock is not at its highest right now. Fields' stock can be at its highest during the offseason if he plays out the rest of the season relatively well.
Okay, and question. Las Vegas calls. They say, hey, we want to trade you our first-round pick as well as a future first-round pick for Justin Fields.
That's
right
what I
now.
heard is going to possible trade with Raiders.
If
You're not going to say no and hold on to Justin Fields because you think his stock is higher.
If they're offering up their first-round pick this year and next year, 100%. 100%. Because what we end up doing is we take that number 1 pick that we get from the Raiders, and then we substitute one of our high-end number 1 picks that we're going to get on the quarterback, and then we'll have that fallback option on a different player.
You know what? I just feel as if I think it's important the Bears execute, quickly on someone like Justin Fields because, as Bears fans watching him for the past 3 years, we've seen the ups and downs of Justin Fields where he looked really good, where we thought he was going to be our franchise quarterback. And then he would follow it up with a brutal performance that makes us wonder if we're going to go ahead and draft another quarterback.
Very inconsistent.
So that's why I ultimately asked the question, because he had a good game against a good team. Is his draft or what value at its highest? That's why I personally believe it's going to be as high as it gets for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if Las Vegas does call and offers that, I mean, you'd be stupid not to take that.
2 first-round picks, yeah.
Yeah, but like Joe, let's say it's a second round pick this year and then a first round next year. Are you doing it?
Yeah.
You're still doing it?
Yeah. Probably.
Because then if we do that, then we're either relying on Bagent.
It's tough. It depends. Are the coaches getting fired? If the coaches are getting...
No, I would not do that. It'd have to be a first-round pick this year.
What do you think, Tony? Do you think, because I know Joe, Andrew, and I, we've talked a lot in the previous weeks about, what the Bears should do with our draft picks coming up. We'll have a couple high-end first-rounders. Do you think we hold on to a guy like Fields, or would you rather see the rebuild start over with one of these high-end quarterbacks?
I really like Justin. I like him in a Bears jersey. I guess I almost want to start with a question, only because I have some friends that are big USC fans, and there's a big talk about Caleb Williams, and I don't know what I don't know much about draft position or whatever,
right?
But a lot of people are saying, at least the people I talked to, that Caleb Williams is going to end up on the Bears, which I don't know. Is that actually possible? Maybe.
So Caleb Williams plays very similar to how Justin Fields plays,
right?
Especially in college too. So I think if you draft Caleb Williams, you're going to have the same thing you have with Fields.
Caleb's guy is going to go pretty early though.
I'm sure he's
as far as draft position.
If not number one, he goes number 2.
Right.
Yeah. The Bears do have that though.
Between him and Drake May.
The Bears will have that. So that's why that's why that question is floating around so
Marvin Harrison
often,
Jr., Drake May, and Caleb
there
Williams
is that
are
possibility of us getting him if we decide to go that route.
Right.
I agree with you though. I think we stick with Fields.
I think Fields is.
I agree with you.
Yeah, if we get Marvin Harrison Jr. and then get a center or something, or maybe an edge rusher, yeah, I think that, and get rid of Eberflus and get rid of Luke Getsy. Yeah, man, I think that that's it. Like get Ben Johnson from the Lions or Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, man, I think that. I think we have a good football team then. Really, I do.
There's some good offensive coordinators out there that can step up, man. I can't remember exactly who.
I really like the Lions offensive coordinator. I like the Commanders offensive coordinator.
So
future head, future.
I just want to say one thing about Caleb Williams. He is a junior, so that means he could go back for his senior year. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Caleb Williams drop a list of teams he would not sign with? And the Bears were on that list?
He didn't drop a list of teams he wouldn't sign with, just teams that he wants to sign with. And, we went over that segment with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams plays for a very good college team, and Drake May doesn't play for that great of a college team. So I think that makes a big difference, too, One, drafting a quarterback.
But I just think it's very risky if the Bears decide to go with Caleb Williams.
I do too, man.
I think so.
I think it's very risky.
So do
I think you might as well just keep
Fields. And you're restarting the rebuild.
That's what I'm saying is that you basically start where we were when we drafted Justin Fields.
We're going to have the same conversation 3 years from
Exactly.
now.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's the Trubisky experiment. The Fields all over.
Right. It's almost as if the Bears should just sign Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, man, I agree, dude. I really. Right? Yes, that's what I just said. Yes. I agree.
I just continue to give the quarterback.
The trenches.
You guys are sold on the wide receiver.
I really like. Dude, they're comparing him to Randy Moss.
I will say after watching videos of Marvin Harrison, I mean, the dude is definitely him.
Yeah.
And I think there's no doubt in my mind.
So okay, let's say
that kid is going to be good.
So let's say we draft him. Then who do we draft with our second first round pick next year? Do we draft an O-line or a D-line?
You could do either one.
Because I feel like we need help on both sides.
We need a center, though. We do need a center. We do need a center.
I think it's important
we do have Montez
we continue going the offensive route.
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
His favorite guy.
Yeah.
But,
say it, Joe?
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
Boy.
I
Yeah.
finally got it right this time.
So I actually,
Some hockey players' names are harder. let me
Yeah.
tell you.
Those Czech Republic names or whatever.
It's like 14 letters, no vowels.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. But no, I think Marvin Harrison. Can you imagine DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison? They have chemistry too together. I think when he was a senior in college, Justin Fields, Marvin Harrison Jr. was a freshman, so they did play with each other.
My only fear, and
Ohio
this
State.
is me being a little optimistic, or pessimistic, I'll admit, is that if you draft a guy like Marvin, but
Julio Jones. Man,
at the end of the day, what's Justin Fields' biggest issue?
getting the ball to the open receiver.
His accuracy with throwing, right? He's
he had
an
pretty good
established
accuracy, though.
he's an established
this last game
runner.
he had good accuracy.
This
really
last
good
game.
Right, I know.
Right,
The
but
consistency, right?
The consistency. So you can get the best. You can get Justin Jefferson on our team, but if Fields isn't making the passes,
Yeah.
you can get a good wide receiver, and it's ultimately not. It's going to be null. It's going to null and
So-
void that. So
Hey, this is probably why
You know,
I'm not a head coach.
Yeah, no, I was just about
it's
to
hard.
say.
It's really
Tough
hard.
job, yeah. Tough
Thank
job.
God I'm not Ryan
Yeah.
Poles in this situation, because regardless of what he does here, he's going to get scrutinized.
Yeah.
So it's
This is what I would do.
it's ultimately going to be a lose-lose. for
If
him,
Justin
I think.
Fields isn't working out, I put in Tyson Bagent. That's what I would do.
Dude, if I'm the last thing that I'll say on this is I dream of the Bears having that guy as a wide receiver, like a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type player, as Marvin would be. But I don't know. I just feel like we have a good receiving core with Kmet, DJ Moore,
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney. Scott's gonna be in his second year next year.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie. He's gonna be in his second year. Hopefully, we can take a gamble on him making strides. I think what the
Equinemius
Bears
St.
should
Brown.
do is truly go with an O-line and a D-line. Imagine
Yeah,
we
you
get
can
that.
go with either one.
Imagine we get that TJ Watt type of player,
Yeah.
and we spend our top 5 pick on the number 1 offensive line.
You could do that too, Brandon. I would be okay with that. I mean, I would do if I couldn't get Marvin Harrison. Let's say like someone else scooped him up or whatever. Even though I think we're going to get the number 1 overall pick, then yeah, I would be okay with going with an O line and a D line for sure. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that always poses the next question, right? Let's say the Bears get the number 1 pick. You may not need the number 1 pick to get, Marvin, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the first 2 picks will be Caleb Williams and May, the 2 quarterbacks, which we see pretty often in every draft. The number 2 guys, 1 and 2, are always quarterbacks. So the Bears get the 1 pick, you trade for the 3rd pick,
yeah.
and then
That's another thing, right? We could trade down.
you trade down,
Yeah.
you get draft capital in the future, and then you can still get your guy with the 3rd pick instead of having the first. So,
Right.
Because I don't know, would we draft Marvin with the number 1 pick? I feel like we'd be apprehensive to do that because
that's
you
very
can get
ballsy. That's
more.
ballsy. Yeah.
So I'm saying you
That's
can
very
get more
ballsy.
value at the number 1 pick with the Caleb Williams type of player than a wide receiver at the number 1.
Because look, we could safely say that there are teams like the New England Patriots out there that need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback, and that's just 2.
And those guys
And those guys
will
are
be
desperate
up there.
Those guys are desperate for quarterbacks. So very well, we may be making trades with New England or Vegas.
Absolutely.
So I think the Bears could get Marvin Harrison easily at number 3.
That would be great,
Yeah.
man, if we could. So we'll see what happens.
It's exciting. I have to admit, it's very exciting. Dude.
But
I haven't been this excited for a draft in my entire life.
Yeah.
Coming up next year's draft, I've never been more excited.
But I do want to say one thing before we jump into something else. With the remaining games left of the Bears' schedule, I think it's very important, management lets Justin Fields play his game. Don't try and overmanage Justin Fields. If this is his last 6 or 7 games with Chicago, let him go out there and ball out. Let him maybe make his own calls. Just let him play his own game, and don't try and manage him that crazy. Because I think these games are so important to the Bears moving forward. I don't know.
No, dude, I totally
think the
agree.
Bears just need to let Justin
Well, I
Fields
told you
go out
about
there and ball out.
the 4th quarter, less than 3 minutes left, and they're trying to run the ball. Why are you have to evaluate Justin Fields to see if he's the guy,
and you're giving the ball
Yeah.
off, you know.
I
and
could
then he does throw a
totally
beautiful
see-
pass.
I could totally see
down.
Justin Fields going to the correct system and then becoming the quarterback we always wanted him to.
Well, Tony, tell me if you agree or disagree. But the way I feel is, I think Justin Fields, for me, it's almost no question. I feel like he stays with the Bears. I don't think he balls out for the purposes of having more value or potentially not being in a Bears uniform next year. I feel like he will be. I think what I want to see out of Justin Fields in the remaining of this season is him just continuing to build rapport with the rest of our team, so that going into the offseason, spring training, and next year, he just has more experience and more continuity with the team that we have. I think that's ultimately what I want to see with Justin Fields. And would you agree with that, Tony? Or?
I think that it's just pretty. I mean, when have you ever seen? The quarterback especially just jump onto a new team, a new system, and it just be magic. I'm sure it's happened.
It has. Well,
But-
C.J. Stroud is
yeah,
the only
CJ
example, and that's a decade
No, he's
player.
not.
Right,
Russell
and-
Wilson, it happened with him. He
I
won a
mean-
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
first
mean,
rookie year.
so it's not like it's very common.
Not common
not.
at all.
So
Yeah.
I think any guy, especially for where he gets his start, wants to do something for Chicago. He wants to be a Bear, and he wants that team. He wants to build it from the ground up, and he wants to be good with it. I that's how I would be as an athlete. I know I'm not an athlete, but like
Well, you play
it's-
hockey, Tony.
Yeah, well, very low level, athlete. But as far as
Still
just
play.
being a professional, right? I'd like to think that's his mentality. It could be completely different. I think he's got to stay positive. He's got to think, I got to build these teams around me. Be a leader, right? Be part of the leadership group of this team, and it'll be that much better if he wins. If we start winning, that he can say, I was in Chicago for when we sucked. I was in Chicago for when we lost to the Lions that one time. That sucked.
and we broke records in a negative way.
Right.
40 minutes
Yeah.
possession. That's disgusting.
I mean, that's kind of also just a bit of a fan mentality. I think that every fan would just love, our star players to create something from the bottom, and I think I like to think that's what he thinks as well.
So
Absolutely.
we have to take into consideration that next season the Bears will have a new head coach. They will have a new offensive coordinator. So
yeah.
maybe
most likely.
there's going to be another period where Justin Fields needs to be,
Well, can you imagine Jim Harbaugh with
That
Justin
gets
Fields?
that gets a little
winner?
dicey too.
Well, he would have to learn an entire new
Yeah,
playbook
to
and
Tony's
new
point,
relationships.
as much as we hate,
Well, it's better than Luke Getsy's
I know,
playbook.
as much as we hate their play calling, ultimately, it's not fun to say that those two guys might not be with the team because, like Tony said, right? Then okay, your Justin Fields is now going into his fourth year,
Just kind of start over.
and now you're starting
Yeah.
over with our management team, and that could cause a rift. Maybe they, like I just talked about with Fields and building rapport
That's
for
why
the
we need
remainder of
to
the
fire them
season,
now.
right?
I agree.
That's fair.
I agree.
Like if you want to, like to what I said earlier, right? If you want to start building rapport with this actual team that we hopefully can contend with next year, then you want to have your pieces set in stone now, so that going into next year there is some fucking rapport there. I think that's really important. So to go into the offseason, fire the head coach, fire the offensive coordinator. Justin Fields needs to, learn and grow and build rapport with new coaches. Like, I could see that being a setback as well. So that could get a little dicey. That's all I'm saying.
Just to very shortly add on that, like if you could build your fantasy your as far as Justin Fields with this head coach and this current, whether it's like Belichick and whoever, an offensive coordinator, like even if we had that fantasy, right? Like, would that work out? I mean,
That's a good question,
Right.
And that would be a lot. I would love to see that, to see if if it would. I don't think it would hurt. It can't hurt anything worse than it is now.
Well,
I don't think.
I just think as a Bears fan, we need answers. we need answers. There's too much of what if we do this and what if we do that and will they be successful? It's like
Just hire Matt Nagy back.
we need answers and we need
John
to
Fox
see.
back.
Yeah, man, for real.
That's Lovey. Yeah. Well, maybe if Lovey was willing to come be DC, I don't know.
Man,
if he
let's
would.
get Coach Nagy back in here.
Yeah.
34-31 record, tenured
it.
with the
Yeah,
Chicago
let's do
Bears. Maybe he wasn't so bad. After
Lance
all.
Briggs, head coach of the Bears next year.
They say that like Matt Nagy might have been the greatest coach ever. He brought the Bears to the playoffs twice, and once with Mitch Trubisky as.
With that being said, that defense,
quarterback.
there were some dogs
Yeah,
on
Let's
the
bring
2018.
Tony La Russa back, but this
Yeah.
time to the Bears.
Hey, no, Joe. Let's get David Ross at the helm of the Chicago Bears.
Might work out.
Yeah,
Might work out.
Yeah, let's get David Ross.
Hey, we'll get
Because we know
Rizzo
that-
back here as a
We know
linebacker.
that Eberflus and David
guy.
Ross were in cahoots calling each other,
I
right?
know. Yeah, Andrew and I called that out.
Yeah.
That Matt Eberflus was asking advice from David Ross for,
And vice
for
versa.
football, and that and vice versa.
Vice
David
versa,
Ross
'cause both
was
of
asking
those
Matt
guys-
Eberflus for baseball advice. His starting lineup for Andrew knows guys in both stadiums. He has relationships with them, and they told him personally.
They told me personally that Matt Eberflus was giving David Ross, tips on how to run a bullpen. And quite frankly, I believe it because David Ross did a poor job doing that.
Hey, boys, Patrick Kane's a free agent, man. You
Yeah.
never know.
Patrick Kane's a piece of shit. Hey,
You know what? Fuck it. Hey, you know what? Fuck it. Derek Rose to the Bulls. Fuck it.
Hey, maybe we should sign. Yeah, maybe Patrick Kane is our offensive coordinator. It might be better.
He knows a thing or two about offense.
Yeah,
let me
I was
tell
going
you.
to say, I would be willing to do it. It can't hurt anything. Can't hurt any more than Luke Getzey.
Fuck it, dude. Let's sign John Lester. He'll be our next
Yeah,
quarterback.
David Ross is the head
John
coach.
Lester was a dog, man. I'm sure he'd do fairly decent.
While we're kind of having fun here, I do have a question for all three of you.
Yeah.
I have pulled up here today's chances of the Bears winning the Super Bowl this year.
Oh god.
Now I have like the percent, and I have like the betting odds. You guys understand betting odds?
I
of,
think
like
I know the percentage.
so if you're cheating, that's fine.
no,
But
I think I know.
If you guys want, I know. So either one, like the betting odds or percentage. What do you guys think?
All right.
Is the
I'll
chances?
start. We'll go round robin here. I think the Bears have a 0.1% chance of making the Super Bowl.
Winning the Super Bowl.
Winning the Super Bowl. 0.001% chance of winning the Super Bowl for the Bears. And I have the betting odds at minus 10,000.
It'll be plus. Right?
Plus, my fault. Plus 10,000.
You know what? How do you expect me to give a different answer than that? Right?
He's not
Right.
terribly far off.
But exactly, obviously the Bears have. Honestly, I'm gonna say there's a 0% chance the Bears win the Super Bowl this year, and it's probably like minus 20,000.
plus.
Plus
20,000.
That's
I made
on
the
me.
mistake,
That's on
yeah.
me. I know.
I
That's
made
on
the
me.
same
So-
mistake you had.
I think this was like before the Lions game, if they beat the Lions. And I think it was, from what I remember seeing, I think it was a 0.6% chance. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I think it was 0.6. I don't know. I could be wrong. But then of winning the Super Bowl, maybe. I think, or maybe that was making the
0.6.
playoffs. Maybe it could have been making the playoffs. It was 0.6. I don't even know. But anyways, so I'll go with that, and then I guess
Plus.
Dude, I have no idea, man. For the I guess I'll go with what Brandon said, plus 10,000. I don't know.
All right.
I really don't.
So this is Fox Sports 5 hours ago, by the way.
Oh, 5 hours ago.
That percentage, the Bears have a 0.2 chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Close.
0.2% chance. And the current odds is plus 50,000.
You know what? Just
So you
Just
you
for the
bet,
closest.
You bet $100, you get $50,000.
that's what I was just about to ask.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, that's
That'd be throwing your money out.
It, straight up.
You put,
I mean,
put
straight
a dollar on it. You know.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
You're losing $1. You're losing $1.
dude, a dollar nowadays it can't even get you a juicy fruit fucking gumball in the fucking.
You should see. I got
the
futures
vending
on the
machine,
Hawks,
dude.
man. I got some futures on the
Invest
Hawks.
invest that buck in stocks or something, because that's not going to pay off.
Do you do
Yeah,
that
like what,
sport betting,
Dogecoin?
Tony?
Whatever.
So sports betting, I sports bet on hockey every now and then for sure. I think I'm not a big unit guy. I'm not throwing hundreds and hundreds of dollars on one game. But every so, I'll throw some money on. I put some money on Conner Bedard before the season. That's for sure. Of
course.
I got over points, and I got him to score 40.
You know what?
Oh wow.
He's on track.
Yeah.
Honest with you.
I do have a story to tell, and just to go off of what you just said, before the MLB playoffs happened, and Brandon, I know you know this story. I came home from somewhere, I forgot where. Maybe it was the gym, because I'm a big buff guy.
Huge.
But
Huge.
I pulled up in front of the house, and sitting on the tree was a blue jay. And I had this vision that it was like a sign from God that Toronto was going all the way this year. So I hurried up and went on DraftKings to try and throw some money down. But I was too late. They already started the game, and
Of course.
then I kind of backed out. And thankfully I backed out. But if that wasn't a sign, then I don't know what the hell was.
Well, it wasn't, right? Or,
Cool.
I mean, it wasn't. But
They lost, so.
They lost.
Yeah, so you just
they
saw
didn't just lose. They got embarrassed.
Sign confirmed.
that was a
They got
sign
embarrassed.
not to pick them.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won the fucking home run derby. There's that.
Dude, what a disappointment he's been.
There's that.
What a disappointment he's been. He's not living up to his father's name at all.
So I think that's pretty much it for the Bears. I mean,
Yeah,
it kinda went
that's
off.
that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good
But
time to transition into baseball. Baseball, it's not going to take
You want to
long.
get the score prediction? For
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Okay. I'll start, I guess. So Bears versus Vikings. It's a Monday night game, November 27th. Vikings are 3.5 favorites. They're playing in Minnesota. So my score prediction is that Vikings win 27-24.
All right. Well, I'm going to have a different answer. Dobbs has been playing very well. I believe Justin Jefferson is returning in the game, so that's going to add to my score prediction.
Rocket scientist.
I think the Bears get fucking slaughtered, honestly. I'm going with Vikings 38, Chicago 14.
Well, the lines are better. You saw what happened there. They almost won.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm sticking by my fucking score.
Fair enough. I score prediction.
I was the one who said Chicago is going to lose to Kansas City 42-6, and what was the score? 41-3. When you guys looked at me like I was crazy, so fuck you, dude.
I thought he was the big opinion guy, huh?
Yeah, that's Bob's job. Taking
Yeah.
over for Bob.
Bobby B.
For this episode, I will be Bob.
All right. So, good predictions, boys. Joe, I really liked your prediction. If you hadn't already said it, I may have said it myself. I do also have the Vikings winning. I think the Vikings win 31-21. So.
All right.
Kind of stole my fucking score there, man.
No, yours was like 38-14, man.
Yeah.
That's way.
Dude, they're all
that's
going to
way
be
different.
they're all going to be
Touchdown
close.
up and down.
You're saying the Vikings are 3-point favorites? That's what you said, Joe?
3.5-point favorites. Yeah, the Vikings.
There's no way that's accurate.
Dude, I think the Bears played well
take-
last
that's-
week. I think
That's what Vegas has.
they
them
have
at
some
right now.
momentum.
You
So
take the Vikings to cover. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
I mean, it might change because if Justin Jefferson comes back, I mean, I don't know.
Right.
So,
Dobbs is playing well.
so you have the Vikings winning,
and we're on the road.
and you have the Vikings winning.
Yes.
Okay. And what is your?
Yeah. What's yours, Tony?
I think the Vikings will for sure win.
Yeah, Tasca's calling me.
Oh, it's good intel.
Do you have to answer that?
No.
Fair enough.
You don't want to work with me tomorrow?
I'm sure that's what it is.
It definitely is what it is. So, yeah, the Vikings will probably win. I think they'll score at least 30. And I'm just going to throw in numbers out there. I'm not too good with these predictions. 30, 31, 24.
feel like that's a
Good
very,
score.
very
Good score.
safe bet. And
going-
if you're wrong, we're mailing that shot of Malort to your damn
yeah,
house.
I will. The video evidence of me chugging a bottle of
Yeah,
Malort.
Hey, you heard it. You heard it. He's chugging a bottle
From the bottle.
from the bottle.
No, that's a good prediction, though, Tony.
Let's play it safe.
Yeah.
Right. Play it safe.
Playing it
Andrew,
safe.
you want to finish this off?
Yeah,
we're
baseball.
just to recap a little bit. We're gonna go into a little bit of baseball. What we're thinking, maybe 5-10 minutes tops,
Yes, I don't
and
have
then-
that much over baseball.
and then we're gonna do some beer reviews, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
With that
so.
being said, it's going to be a fire segment on baseball, so continue watching, please. All right, so let's just start off with the elephant in the room here, the big primetime fish. You know that record-setting bass. You know, that you roll up. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but let's make a fit for Ohtani in Chicago. And before I get started here, do you boys understand the magnitude of a player like Ohtani coming to Chicago? Like, that is on the top of my Christmas.
Can we afford him?
Christmas
right now?
wish list? The Cubs could afford easily Ohtani.
Well, yeah, let's get him. Then.
And
Yeah.
Ricketts said, and there has been a lot of buzz around the entire league. Bob Nightingale, Jesse Rogers, all those guys, and GMs across the board have been saying that the Cubs may be the most aggressive team for Ohtani this offseason. As a Cubs fan, I mean, that is the absolute best news that you could possibly hear. What other player would you want other than Ohtani to come to Chicago this offseason?
He's the best player, right, in MLB.
I mean, there's no debate. He's easily
Yeah.
the best player in baseball.
Yeah, then get him here. You know,
I mean, with that being said, his contract is going to be
he
massive.
can play next to Suzuki.
His contract is going to be massive, and it's going to scare some people away. But before you get alarmed, think about all the revenue that Ohtani brings to a team alone. Think about all the millions that he's brought to the Angels just because of him.
And he's a good pitcher too, right?
Great pitcher, great hitter. Not only would probably the entire country, continent, or whatever of Japan be rooting for the Cubs, considering we already have Suzuki.
Island.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So the entire nation of Japan would be rooting for the Cubs. Think about all the revenue and all the TV viewership that the Cubs would be benefiting off that. Think about all the jersey sales that we'd get immediately. Cubs,
He's the modern day Ichiro.
dude, he's more than that.
Yeah, but remember.
Oh, okay. Actually,
Ichiro.
that's a very fair comparison. That's a fair comparison. But nonetheless, he would bring so much to this team. The Cubs are also going out on a limb, and I believe it's for Ohtani. They're trying to go out and get, I think, as many Japanese players as they humanly can afford right now, just to entice Ohtani to come even more. Because we've been linked to, I'm not going to even attempt to say their names, but there's a bullpen guy out there. There's a starting pitcher out there that they're interested in as well. So if they could get those guys, I think it'd be a very good cause for Ohtani to come here. But moving on. First reason, we have a friendly in the friendly confines. Meaning, say a Suzuki. I thought you guys would like that. No?
Well, the question
No?
is,
Yeah,
You
that
did
was
bring that
cool.
up. You said it's.
That was cool, right?
the question is,
Yeah, great job.
can Ohtani catch a pop fly
That was
or
sweet,
a
dude.
fly ball?
Ohtani would probably be playing DH. So he
I
probably
know,
wouldn't
I know,
have to worry about.
I know,
But, I
Andrew,
mean,
it was a rhetorical question.
Okay. Yes, he probably could.
Okay.
And Seiya Suzuki can as well. That's just a fluke. I don't ever see that happening again for Seiya, quite frankly. But point number 2. Like I said previously, the Cubs are linked to multiple other Japanese free agents to entice Ohtani to come to Chicago. That's point number 2. Number 3, Ohtani would easily be the face of Chicago. He'd be the face of one of the biggest markets in baseball, one of the most historic franchises in baseball. So I think it's a win-win in total. If he could handle the cold, because April and May it still is kind of cold in Chicago, actually bitter cold. So if he could handle that, he'll be fine. Number 4, the Cubs proved that we're in ultimate win mode now with signing Craig Counsell to a record-breaking deal that surpasses Joe Torre in 2007 with $7.5 million. That's what Joe Torre got. Craig Counsell got $8 million. So that proves that the Cubs are actually very serious about winning and going for it next year. So what other guy would you want other than Ohtani to be at the helm next year, hitting those nukes, obviously, as well as in 2025 pitching. So that would be very good for Chicago if that happened. And with Ohtani, the Cubs would, guess what, still have a top 5 farm system, which I believe they have the number 2 farm system behind Baltimore Orioles. So we would have a lot to play there with a lot of young pitching, a lot of outfield prospects that we could trade off for primetime players. Just a fantasy world. Imagine if somehow the Cubs do sign Ohtani this year and somehow work out a package to get Juan Soto in Chicago as well. We go from a competitive team to like a super team in a matter of a day if that happens. But that's just fantasy. I think Ohtani's more realistic than that. But that's all I got for Ohtani. There's a lot of buzz going on, and it's a very serious discussion. Shohei Ohtani's agent said himself that he doesn't want any teams reporting that they're actively talking with Ohtani, and that may sway Ohtani's decision. I'm not really sure why that's the case, but that's just how they're dealing with things right now. On a different note, Patrick Wisdom re-signs with the Chicago Cubs on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. Quite frankly, I think it's a waste of a roster spot. Patrick Wisdom proves that he cannot hit the ball, nor can he field. I think we have better options that we could have chosen over him, but whatever. Maybe Wisdom should have gone to the White Sox. Honestly, I think that would have actually been a low-risk, high-reward type deal for Patrick Wisdom, a guy that has nothing to lose to play for a really shitty team, no offense.
Yeah, in all fairness, the White Sox have Andrew Vaughn as their first baseman. They also have Eloy Jimenez as their designated hitter. And then you got guys like Gavin Sheets who can still fill in to play first and DH as well. So I'm not sure how great of a fit that would have been, but when you're the White Sox, any help is welcomed at this point. So.
Absolutely.
So, not so shocking news, but it is worth mentioning. Brandon Woodruff was non-tendered by the Milwaukee Brewers. If you guys don't know who Brandon Woodruff is, he's a very good pitcher for the Brewers, one of the best in baseball for the past couple of years. The reason for non-tendering him and him becoming a free agent is because he's getting shoulder surgery, which is very alarming for a pitcher especially. He's not projected to be back until 2025, but could be a good low-risk signing for any team. I'm sure he's not going to be making a lot of money there, so we'll see where Brandon Woodruff goes. Who knows? Maybe in 2025 we'll have Ohtani coming back, as well as Brandon Woodruff in the same rotation, which would be pretty gnarly with Justin Steele leading the home. But at my last point, let's change gears and take a trip down I-55 for about 8 hours. Let's talk about St. Louis for a second. And I want to bring these guys up because I just find it hilarious. And I always appreciate when St. Louis or Milwaukee is actively going through a rebuild or a bunch of shit. Us Chicago fans, I don't care. I'm going to answer for everyone. We don't like Wilson Contreras. We don't claim Wilson Contreras after he left, and especially the comments he made about David Ross and while he played the Cubs this year. But in the offseason, the St. Louis Cardinals needed pitching, and they said on a limb that they're going to go after guys like Blake Snell, like Aaron Nola, like Sonny Gray, perhaps Dylan Cease, who are all very good pitchers. Instead of signing those guys, they cheaped out and went with Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. If you watch baseball, you understand how poorly these guys performed last season. So it's going to be another garbage year in St. Louis as well as Milwaukee due to all their changing of management and players getting injured. So the window is wide open for the Cubs to make the playoffs and go deep in the playoffs. So the Cubs absolutely have to capitalize on getting Ohtani. I believe Ohtani will be a Chicago Cub. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Ohtani comes to Chicago or he just moves across the street and goes to the Dodgers?
I'd like for him to. I think it would obviously help. They need to add to the bullpen, and he's
true.
But so if he's a pitcher, right? That's what he plays. Is he going to be? Are they going to put him in the bat because he's a good batter as well, right?
So Shohei Ohtani has an interesting situation going on. He had Tommy John this offseason after the season ended. So he will not be pitching in 2024. but he'll be activated in 2025 to pitch. So we'll see how that plays out with his contract. But I mean, he's one of the best players in baseball, hitting wise as well as pitching. So
Well, it sucks that we can't have him, do both. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a problem.
But
I think it creates a little bit of risk. I think
No, for
especially
sure.
when you see a guy like, I don't know, when you see an elite pitcher like Ohtani and then he gets the Tommy John and, to expect him to come back in 2020, to offer up that big contract, anticipating that he will be every fifth day starter as well as the DH, and expect him to come back in 2025 and still have that elite status as a pitcher, and then have to overpay because of just his career thus far. I think it does pose, for me, it poses a little bit of a risk. Anyone who gets Ohtani probably will be overpaying in terms of like his talent, because I don't necessarily know if he's going to come back as the same pitcher that he was after Tommy John, especially if he's going to focus on hitting for a whole year and not pitch during that time. So like I said, that poses a risk for me, but Ohtani's the one guy where I do think that you can overpay and there's not going to be too many repercussions that'll come from it. Because like what you said, right, he's going to bring a huge fan base. He's going to bring a lot of revenue regardless, no matter what. So yeah, I completely agree. I think there's some risk, but I think it's a good signing. And however, what I will say also, I'm sorry to say this, Andrew. I'm not a Cubs fan. I'm sorry, guys. Right? Sorry, audience. Sorry, Andrew. I'm not a huge Cubs fan. I'm a Sox fan, right? So I'm going to take in what I believe is an objective standpoint on this. I don't think Ohtani goes anywhere other than the West Coast. I just don't think he does. I think the West Coast is much closer to Japan. I think that a lot of Japanese players in the past, especially the big ones that can really garner a contract like this, I do believe he's going to stay on the West Coast. I do believe he's going to go to the Dodgers. I've said that since day one. I'm consistent with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's changing. I'm sorry to say. Now, in the event that, let's say, Ohtani doesn't sign with the Cubs, it's not the end of the world. I think the Cubs do have a bright future. I think Pete Alonso, as we mentioned in a previous podcast, is going to be a hot commodity, and I think he would fit into the Cubs scheme, the Cubs roster so well. And I think if you get, let's say, a Pete Alonso, and you're also not quote unquote overpaying for a guy like Ohtani, I think that you can get a guy like Alonso, and you can shop the market further. I think if you do get a guy like Ohtani, I think that is kind of going to pigeonhole you to not being able to sign as many other free agents. Right, there's a lot going on with the North Siders, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so a couple things. Jotted down some notes over you talking. Ohtani did consider coming to Chicago when he first was posted in Japan. The Cubs were a top 3 destination spot for the Cubs. So he did consider coming here originally, and that's when the Cubs were, quite frankly, not a good team. So now that we are a good team, I think that only entices us even further. And as for Ohtani not pitching, the Cubs would not offer Ohtani that large of a contract if Ohtani was dead set on never pitching again, right? Like, obviously, they're going to be discussing whether or not Ohtani is going to pitch in the future, and that's going to play in dividends as to how much money we offer him. But one other thing is Tommy John surgery is almost an every year daily thing for pitchers nowadays, and you see the success of Tommy John surgeries in the league, how players come back, and they even come back stronger. They tend to actually pitch faster. So
I got a question about Ohtani.
Yeah.
I always kind of try to put myself in the player perspective, right? I know he said that he'd be a good fit, but what is it about the Cubs, maybe besides just like maybe fitting into the roster pretty well, what is it about Chicago and maybe the staff or other players that is attractive for Ohtani to want to come to Chicago?
Yeah, I could probably speak on this for about 3 hours. I mean,
The
hey,
food.
Okay, hold on.
It's the food.
Hey, I'm taking
It's the deep dish.
Let me say this. 2 things come to mind, and then Andrew, I know you're going to take a deeper dive on it. I'm looking forward to that. first two things that come to mind is, as Andrew alluded to, I think that the Cubs do already have some Japanese presence in a guy like Suzuki. So I think that's one thing that you can kind of hang your hat on.
I think just real quick, have those two guys ever play with each other? They know. I mean, they're obviously from the kind of the same. Do you guys have any knowledge of like them maybe going up through playing together? At
that's going to be a question for Andrew.
So yes, they have played each other in Japan. They were never on the same team.
Okay.
And what I thought was what?
No, just like Andrew would know that.
Right, yeah.
I would have had no fucking.
So no, yes, they have played. They have played each other
in hockey. I probably know something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So,
They have played each other, and they were they were friends in Japan. Also, one funny story that I'd like to share with you guys: when the Cubs were in, they were playing the Angels, right? Suzuki was up to bat, and Ohtani was in the dugout, and Suzuki actually like threw a fishing pole into the dugout and was like kind of reeling him in to Chicago. So,
nice.
so I thought that was pretty
Suzuki
funny.
wants him to.
Oh, of course he does.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't?
I'm
he?
understanding of like the countrymen, right? They
Yeah.
especially if at least I know in terms of hockey, like a lot of these guys play on national teams together and stuff. Like I know like Russians are really tight in hockey, so I can almost kind of like relate to that a little bit.
Sure.
Where if a guy would want to go play with his buddy that he grew up with, or at least played hockey with in Russia, or play on the national team with each other. Like they're all kind of friends, right? Especially in you come to America and no one speaks your language, and now you got your boy that at least
And
you
possibly
can hang out with every day. You can go out to eat. You can live whatever it is like
And
that.
possibly
That's
other
huge.
boys.
That is huge. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
What I'll say though, Tony, is I think at the end of the day, I think you can say that about Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant, right?
And
How many reports did you hear about?
Quite frankly, the Cubs made a fatal mistake on signing Hayward to that contract. If the Cubs did not offer Hayward that contract, Harper would have been in Chicago.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think
And Chris Bryant would have re-signed. But thankfully, that never happened because Bryant is not the player he
I think
once
we can
was.
all agree, though. I think money talks at the end of the day. I think it's nice. I think it's nice to be on the same team as your boy. But if another team is offering you a lot more money, and we're talking millions, right? I think money talks ultimately. But to get back to your point, Tony, and from the perspective of someone who doesn't dive as deep into the Cubs as Andrew does, I think one would be that there are some Japanese ties on the Cubs. The second point that I would make is that the Cubs do have a bright future. They've proven that they're kind of they've proven that they're in contention and that they're really trying to contend in the future. And I think that's something that a guy like Ohtani, who's been with the Angels, right, a team that even through his 2 MVP awards now and having all this success, he hasn't even sniffed the playoffs. It's because he's been with the Angels. I think there's a lot of appeal with the Cubs potentially being a much better team going into the future.
I like that. Yeah.
All right.
So.
And I'm going to say this, and we're going to wrap up this segment. But to answer your question, I'm going to take a page out of your book and ask a question on top of a question. Why wouldn't he want to come here? And that's a real question. Why wouldn't he want to come to Chicago?
That's great.
Let's look at the facts here, okay? The Cubs have one of the best owners in baseball, if not the best owner in baseball. I firmly believe that. I'm not just being biased. I think Tom Ricketts is... I have no words to describe how awesome of a ownership he is. He's incredible from top to bottom. He pours the resources into necessary needs, like international funding. He's built training facilities around the globe, to get the Cubs' names out there. And top to bottom, he brand new ballpark in spring training, the best ballpark in spring training. And we know for a fact, because we were there, how nice was Sloan Park. And that's a spring training facility.
Yeah.
And it was sold out completely. Like, you could not move anywhere in that spring training facility, and it's just spring training. So that's one other thing. We have a bunch of resources outside of Chicago that are help developing players year-round. I just said Tom Ricketts is the man. We have Jed Hoyer and Jason McLeod, who are 2 of the best front office minds in all of baseball. And that's not being biased either. That's a proven track record, especially Jason McLeod. He's the head of scouting and development. The Cubs do develop and scout players very well. They have been for a while now. And that's just the front office, right? The Cubs signed Craig Counsell, one of the best managers in baseball. Why not? Why not? Why not come to Chicago and want to play for one of the best managers in baseball? Why not? Why would you not want to come to the friendly confines that sells out every single game, that has true passionate fans that support you through thick and thin? Great atmosphere. And not only that, the ball club's amazing. We have some absolute good players on the field. We have Justin Steele as an ace. With Ohtani coming back in 2025 as a pitcher, we have 2 aces on our team, on top of already a good core of players, on top of a top 5 farm system. I think the Cubs are moving into a phase, and I'm gonna flat out say this, and I really am taking the role of big opinion Brandon here, or whatever the hell your name is, Bob. The Cubs are moving into a dynasty period, and don't be shocked over the course of the next 7 years if the Cubs win 2 or 3 World Series.
Yeah. That's bold.
Yeah.
That's bold. Andrew,
I said it.
With optimism, right? This is supposed to be a debate show, so I am going to debate you. I've got one word as to why, to your point, right? You asked the question, why wouldn't Ohtani come here, right? That was the question.
The Cubs name
I got one word for
itself.
you. I got one word
The Dodgers are proven losers in the postseason. 2020 doesn't count.
I've got one word for you. That word is geography. What did we talk about a couple weeks ago on the podcast? The Midwest is not a destination that a lot of players want to go to. I'm sorry to say, I think that if you are going to make an argument against the Cubs, it's not because of their front office, it's not because of their fans, it's not because of any of that. It's simply because of their geography. I think there's a reason why Ohtani signed with the Angels to begin with, coming out of Japan, when he could have signed with the Cubs at that point, or any other team. I think Ohtani stays with the West Coast, and I think that the Cubs' biggest downfall is going to be that they're a Midwestern team. For baseball.
I think that's kind of why I brought this up, because it was like, put yourself in this guy's shoes.
Yeah.
Like, where do you want to live for the next X amount of years?
Yeah.
And for some people it's a deal breaker. Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, it's
Dude, I think
best owner, great place to play. It's Wrigley Field. It's one of the best places to play baseball.
The oldest stadiums.
Yeah. Look. With that being said, I'm not going to be stupid. Obviously, the Dodgers are also a very enticing team to want to play for. Who wouldn't want to play for the Dodgers?
Sure.
They have a bunch of stars on the team like Mookie Betts and frickin' Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, and that's just to name a few of them. So I could 100% see Ohtani going to the Dodgers, but yeah, he's coming to the Cubs. With that being said, he's going to the Cubs.
It's done.
And he's coming to the Cubs.
Well, I think with hockey, it doesn't.
And if he does
That's his contract.
and if he does come to the Cubs are going to be 2024 World Series champions.
I hope so, man. I hope so. But I was saying, I don't think it really matters with hockey, right? Because the weather's always cold.
That's the main thing about baseball. I was thinking
some guys would rather be in Anaheim than in Winnipeg. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know.
You know?
Also, ice is ice, right?
That's true.
Ice is ice.
It is.
Ice is ice, but when you're playing outdoors every day,
It's nice.
it does make a big difference.
It does.
Also, the Cubs have the nicest clubhouse in all of baseball, by the way. So that's another reason why he should come here.
That's a thing where I'm like, if I'm that guy, he's looking at that kind of thing.
He
right?
absolutely is. The Cubs have the nicest. They poured $600 million into Wrigley Field and making it the prime destination spot for free agents.
Yeah, he's not going to go to a shithole.
He's not going to a shithole. He's going to a premier team in the league.
Like Milwaukee.
If he could get past... there you go. Hey, 100%.
Chicago podcast.
Fuck Green Bay and fuck the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
We stole your fucking manager, motherfuckers!
Yeah, fuck you, Joe. Wisconsin sucks.
Yeah.
I was born in Illinois, alright?
Joe hates Wisconsin, brother.
All right,
I hate Wisconsin teams.
Yeah, Wisconsin teams.
If there's two things that will hold Ohtani back, is going to be it's cold, and it's going to be he's further away from Japan, and that's all.
I agree. I think those are two big factors.
And those are two big factors, but I think Tom Ricketts and Jed Hoyer and Jason McLeod and Carter Hawkins, they could get the job done.
I mean, Suzuki's there too. I mean, right? I mean, you said they're kind of friends
too.
Yeah, money talks, and the Cubs could throw around. They could throw around money like it's and going out of style.
Yeah, money talks, bullshit walks.
But
all right, beer review.
Yeah, beer review.
Well, before we go into the beer review, I have one more thing on the White Sox,
talk,
and it's on the White Sox, and I promise it's going to be less than a minute, maybe 45 seconds.
we
I just
can't do
wanted to say, I just want to acknowledge the fact that, and I might be a little late to this, but Jason Benetti did not re-sign his contract as the color commentator for the Chicago, or the play-by-play commentator for the Chicago White Sox in this upcoming season. Unfortunately, I have the duty of actually saying that he is actually moving over to the Detroit Tigers, which, you know, within our division, I'm not a fan of that team, never have been. In fact, I can't stand them. And I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed Jason Benetti's tenure with the Chicago White Sox, and that I absolutely just wish the best for him. You know, in general, I know he broadcasts NCAA football. He does a lot of national broadcasts, and I'm going to be happy to hear him in other types of sports. But either way, I don't have any remorse towards you, Jason Benetti, for doing what you wanted to do in your career, moving over to another team, regardless of who it is. But I really just wanted to say I appreciate what you did for the Sox, and we're going to miss you, man.
And as a Cubs fan, I also enjoyed listening to him the few times I did watch the Sox game. Actually, I mean, I watched more than a few Sox games, but I did enjoy listening to him. He was a very colorful, high energetic, broadcaster. So that definitely hurts.
Yeah, no,
Definitely
it does.
hurts.
It
Yeah.
does. It does.
Well said.
Thank you.
All right.
But a few words to close out this podcast. Hey, Joe, and say it with me, buddy. Fuck Milwaukee and fuck Green Bay.
Second that. All right. So
Yep.
we'll start off with the Fistmas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the fucking.
We're done with sports. On to the beer review. So this will be quicker. Made by the Revolution Brewing Company.
Chicago.
Yep, made in Chicago. Got to represent Chicago. It's a red ale with ginger and orange peel. Pretty good beer. I'll move up and show you guys the artwork here. It's pretty cool. Oh no!
He did what the dog did.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Are we back on?
It's frozen.
All right. Hang on. Let's stop this then.
This guy's hammered.
Sorry about that. Some technical.
Welcome back to it.
Technical difficulties. Good.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the Fistmas beer. Pretty good overall beer. I mean, I like Anti-Hero. That's a beer that Revolution Brewing makes. 6.5% alcohol. So it is full of festive flavors for jolly, joyful jingles.
He said that himself.
No,
He wasn't even reading it.
Just because of that deserves a 10.
Yeah.
No, if I had to give it a, like 1 out of 10, I'll give this an 8. It was a pretty solid beer. So
I cannot speak on that one. I did not try it today, unfortunately.
I've been able to try all three of them.
Yeah.
I
Really?
think,
Wow.
yeah. I think the Fistmas. I think that was the weaker of the three, the weakest of the three, I should say. It just didn't pop out to me like the other two did. But that said, it wasn't bad by any means. I think it was drinkable to an extent. I don't think the ginger really hit you in the face. I don't think any other of the flavors are really too prominent. I think I'll give it like a solid 6 out of 10, something modest.
I didn't get a chance to try it either.
There you go.
Fair enough.
So just me and Bob
There
on
you
that
go.
one. All right, so it looks like you got the next one, Andrew, or do you want short fuse?
Go ahead.
So the next one is So the Fistmas and this is the Son of Juice. This was both brought over by Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Very well.
So this is brewed by the Maplewood Brewing Company, which is located also in Illinois, Normal, Illinois. It's an IPA, India Pale Ale. So Son of Juice I kind of like because it's kind of similar to Blue Moon, even though Blue Moon's a wheat ale. This one is an IPA, so it has that more hoppy taste to it. 6.3% alcohol by volume. If I had to rate this one on a scale 1 to 10, I would give it 7. I'll show you the artwork here. Good.
Yep.
I think first look, the can is decent. It could be better, but it's still pretty solid. Not that matters. The first sip, I thought it was a little weird at first, but the last sip, I actually learned to enjoy it. I'm going to give this a solid 7.5.
Okay. Son of Juice, Indian Pale Ale. I thought it was good. I really did. I think maybe after having the Fistmas, and again, right, giving that a 6, not being the biggest fan of it, I don't know. I think the Son of Juice sat well with me. I don't think it had any like overpowering flavors per se. I just thought it was like a smooth beer that I enjoyed.
Yeah, it wasn't like your typical IPA.
Yeah, it was just kind of like it kind of was just a smooth beer that I enjoyed. I think I'll give it a 7.
Yeah,
Nice score.
I picked up Sun Juice. I've had Sun Juice many times. Maplewood's, you can find Maplewood kind of spots anywhere in the city, and I've had it. I've enjoyed it. You can get it on tap a lot around here, and it's one of my favorite Maplewoods, particularly. I think I agree with you where it is a smoother IPA. It's pretty easy to drink as far as IPA goes, and I've always given it an 8. I love it.
It's pretty solid beer for sure. I've seen it on draft a lot of places too.
Yeah,
so
you can find it pretty.
Very solid rating, of course. And then our last beer of the night is from Short Fuse. It's in Schiller Park. If you guys are wondering where it is, it's called Vocal Jam.
Award-winning beer.
Yes. So it says blueberry, boysenberry with hints of coffee, finishing with pleasant tartness. Sounds interesting, but it actually is very good.
It's exactly what it tastes like.
Yeah, it's actually very good.
Accurate.
Whatever you just said is exactly what it tastes like.
I did really enjoy it. I'm giving this one a 7.8.
Nice rating. This is not a beer that I've had for the first time. Short Fuse, as Andrew mentioned, in Schiller Park. Shout out to them. It's my go-to brewery. I really enjoy them. Kind of close to home. At 5.5% alcohol volume. When I was drinking this beer, it's funny because I was drinking it and my reaction towards Tony right when I've had my first sip was, whoa, because it really is sour, which is something I really enjoy. That's a palate I can appreciate. But as I was drinking, I'm like, okay, sour, fruity. I'm like, where the fuck is this coffee taste coming from? And I look down at the beer can and I see "and coffee," and I'm like, damn, that makes sense. So I think that threw me for a loop. I can't believe that they were able to successfully combine a sour, fruity flavor with a coffee flavor that just doesn't resonate with me.
But it was good.
But it is great and good. In fact, I think it's great. This is a beer. I'm gonna stick with the even numbers today. I'm gonna keep it lame. I went with the 6 for the Fistmas. I went for a 7 with the Son of Juice. I'm gonna go with an 8 for the Vocal Jam. I enjoyed it.
That's the first whole number I think you've ever went with.
Yeah, I think it is.
Dave Portnoy would be very disappointed
Rookie
with you
score,
right now.
right?
Rookie
Yeah,
fucking
rookie
score,
score.
dude.
Hey,
Rookie score.
This Short Fuse definitely
have you ever been there, Tony? It's a
never.
brewery. Yeah.
Me and Brant we literally the same reaction. Where I was like, holy crap! Like,
Yeah.
this is actually pretty cool. Honestly, if I'm at a brewery or a restaurant and I see the word sour, I typically pass. I'm not a sour guy.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I enjoy it. I'll tell you what, if it didn't have the coffee flavor, I wouldn't think this is very good at all. But I'm a big coffee beer fan. I love the
So you
flavor.
like
of
stout?
coffee.
No, dude, you look like a coffee beer guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe it's the
What's that
fucking
supposed to
stash.
mean?
probably.
No, it's because you're a firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's coffee and
Well,
beer.
yeah,
drink.
yeah. The stash is just like it goes
Yeah.
with being a firefighter, right?
I mean, for the amount of coffee I drink and not beer I drink, I mean, it's my 2 favorite things. But I appreciate this beer quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie. And any coffee beer is already like almost at the top of my list, even if it's a sour.
That's awesome.
I like a 7.9.
7.9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you a
Very
stout
nice
guy?
rating.
And like a
I do
porter?
enjoy a good stout. I
Yeah.
think that stouts are like it kind of like these. I don't think I drink this all night.
Sure.
You know, it's just
These are
like
sipping
it's
beers,
really
you
good.
know?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I love to enjoy this can, and Yeah, I'll move
And I really just want to say, based on what Tony said, I can't agree more. I think his analysis was perfect. I think you take the coffee flavor away. I think this beer is completely different, and I also think it's not very good. You take the coffee flavor away, and for any of you who are willing to go try this at Short Fuse,
They do
let's
great
say you're
flights.
in the area. Just know that Vocal Jam is very sour. So if you're not a big fan of sour, you're warned. But the coffee does kind of offset
It's
that
not
a little
like
bit.
too overpowering though, is it?
It's pretty fucking sour.
It's
man.
pretty sour.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, if that coffee flavor was not it didn't
Yeah.
exist, I'd be like,
Not
have
yours.
this.
yeah.
And that's how I felt about that one beer that we drank.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was like $28 for 4 beers. I
Oh
forgot
yeah.
what
We still
the
have
name
some
was.
in the fridge, I think.
And that'll never be fucking good.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So the cool thing about Short Fuse is they do what 6 ounce glasses of flights, which is really cool.
So it's 5 ounces.
5 ounces
of 7
okay.
beers.
My bad. 7, yeah.
7 beers.
Yeah,
So that's
35
crazy.
ounces.
So for like $15, right? It's not
Yes,
bad.
it's
at
really
all.
not. It's
So if
really
you
not
like
bad.
doing flights of beer to try and figure out like your style or whatever, that's the place to go.
And they have like what 20 plus different beers there.
They have
They have
30
a shit ton.
almost.
Yeah, they have a shit ton of
Yeah.
beers. So there's a
And-
wide
So
selection.
if
Yeah,
you like
they're
doing
always
flights,
changing.
man,
They're
that's
always-
your
I mean,
place to go in Schiller Park.
Yeah,
is Short Fuse.
if you're gonna get tanked one night, definitely go there. There's plenty of beers there for you to sample.
Absolutely.
beers, there's hot chicks, there's everything you need.
Yeah,
Last time we went, the
No
bartenders.
Malort. Sorry to tell you, there's no
Yeah.
Malort there. though.
thankfully.
When we went, the bartenders dressed up as Powerpuff Girls.
That's
So
true,
that
and
was
I
kinda
actually
funny.
called it out. I'm
I had no
I'm
idea.
the
I
one who
never would've
realized.
guessed that,
And
yeah.
quite frankly, I probably could have gotten her number. No,
Name all 3 Powerpuff
I'm kidding.
Girls.
I'm
Go.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't. Now should we?
Bubbles.
Buttercup
Oh shit, nice.
and Blossom.
Hey, hold on. That was fucking. I'm not gonna lie. That was fucking impressive.
Thank you.
And what about
Don't fact
Mojo?
check him though. So
Oh,
I swear to God. I swear to God.
Fucking stole my thunder.
I swear to God.
Sorry.
I was gonna ask him
Sorry.
who's the evil monkey. You said it. You said
He's the
it.
most famous person in that.
Mojo Joe. Dude, I didn't remember that name until Joe said it.
Mojo Jojo.
Impressed.
All right. So
All right,
that's
so
all we
What's
got
the
for
dad's
ya.
name, Duncan?
Oh yeah, no.
Sugar, spice, and
If
everything.
you if you know the father's name, then you are a serious fan of the damn.
He's a
father.
Or you're
science-
just
he's a mad
2000s
scientist.
fanatic.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well,
Whatever.
I think to wrap everything up, Tony, we want to thank you for joining
Yeah,
us
thanks, Tony.
today.
Thank you.
We
Thank
absolutely loved your segment on
Yeah.
the Blackhawks. You answered and very important questions that we all had for you. Make sure to tell us how Tony did in the comments. We obviously know he did good, but we want to hear your feedback as well.
Let's hear it.
And get your opinion on it. And one more thing, you guys don't know this, but shout out to Chris Pankey. You're the man. We're out.
See ya.
Don't forget to like, rate, and share, baby.
Yep.